that'll make it
All right,
easier
so
to get.
ready to clap it in? And
We are on the air.
where we are. Okay. We had a great conversation off the air. I just came for. I'm still in Italy. This will be the last podcast from Italy this year, I
All
think.
right.
I'm back. I'm back next week. I don't know what to say. Political
If you can find
situation is
gas
just.
for the plane.
I can. Um, there's something funny to be said about methane at the moment, but I'm not sure which way we go. But it's beautiful here. It's like 24 degrees. And I went for a walk. One of the things I do, people don't know, is I do wine videos. I'm a wine writer, and I was out in the vineyard, and what a beautiful walk! Like an absolutely beautiful walk I took. I saw poppies, which I haven't seen in like forever, like almost like a half field of poppies.
Nice.
I saw like shells in the vineyard. I saw these beautiful purple plants, and I guess they're on a hill, and it's a purple flower. And I'm like looking at these flowers, and I'm like, holy shit! In about a week, this whole hillside will be these purple flowers, and it's probably pretty impressive.
Nice.
So,
And
yeah.
you might even be around to see it.
No, because I go to Campania on Wednesday, and then I'm in Umbria, and then I'm home.
Huh.
So this is probably the busiest time for me. I was in the north of Italy, Alto Adige. For anybody who knows wine regions, if you know wine regions, Alto Adige, which is the north. Then I was in Bulgari, which is Tuscany, and then I said Campania, and then yeah. So
Busy,
it's
busy.
kind of this month is all over Italy. That's what it is. So I'm in the south, then I'm in the middle. I was in the other side of the middle, and then I was north. So yeah, I've been north, south, east, west. There you
Busy
go.
boy.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
I do hope that you can find gas for your plane and you can make it back. Yeah.
I do too. Ophelia's supposed to come in July, and oh boy, I don't want to tell her that I'm getting nervous, but
Mm. Yeah.
the orange pumpkin is just. You better find his off ramp quick. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, you can do
So
the Greta Thunberg thing and get a solar powered boat and a satellite radio and just
you know
sail
what?
across.
I looked this up. You can take a cargo ship to
Yeah.
Canada. They
Yes, you can.
instead of a cruise liner, you can get a cargo ship and get on a cargo ship. It takes about a week to 10 days, and
Yep.
they give you a cabin and you get meals and stuff like that. But you
Yeah.
can take a cargo ship. Really weird. I don't know what the price is, but I never thought that. I figured cargo ships were cargo,
Ah,
but
no,
they do have cabins, and you pay
they
for them,
do.
and
There's
you
crew.
can be the crew on a cargo ship. I don't know if you're a crew member, but you're there.
Yeah.
So weird. Okay.
Interesting.
So if all else fails, time for a cargo ship.
If all else fails, time for a cargo ship. Yeah, I,
Yeah,
I think
I
that
think
would
that should be
be
the name of my next book.
more interesting. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. That is fodder for a good mystery. Absolutely.
So you want to kick us off, or you want me to kick us off? Because I've been a busy boy this week, and I did stupid things.
Well, mine is going to be pretty short and sweet.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you the stats. My
Oh, you
sea
have
temps
stats.
are
Because
exactly
last
the
last
same.
week I've got shitty week. Finally, in the middle of Wednesday, you got a second wind.
Yep.
You were 728 words up,
Uh-huh.
and you were organizing for an ending. And I saw that you released a newsletter
Yes.
which said that you are back to, if I'm not mistaken, you are back to uh, um, plotting, not pantsing.
No pantsing. Um, but I have an ending I'm happy with to this series of expletives deleted story.
Okay, so now you're
so
plotting the ending. All
so
right.
you want to we'll talk about process and get to the numbers because the numbers are boring.
Okay.
I basically sat down with a blank sheet of screen and said, okay, this is the current scenario, and this is what's known to happen. And now, at this point, we could go down this branch or we could go down that branch. So we go down this branch, tabbed in, wrote some stuff, tabbed back out, said we go down that branch, wrote some more stuff, found the things that were common and put them up above the branches. And then in there's sub branches where we could go one way or we could go another way. So eventually I had this long set of scenarios.
You did this on a computer?
Yeah. Yeah, just on a screen, like
paper and a pen, for God's sakes. Okay, go.
Are you kidding? It would be. I'd be rewriting it.
All right, do what you want.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be arrows all over the place, and I'd have to get a new sheet of paper and write it over.
That's what paper's for. I love it. I love that goes up here, that goes down here. That's exactly what paper is for.
I like trees better than that.
I can't edit without paper, and paper is probably, if it wasn't for paper, I probably wouldn't write.
No.
I could not write to a computer. I need
Wow.
a pen. I need a piece of paper. It's just how it works.
If it wasn't for computers, I probably wouldn't write. Yeah.
Okay, so it's two different. So I've decided now you're not plotting it. You're branching it. So there's pantsing it and there's branching it.
Well,
So
it's part of the plotting process, right?
Yeah.
I should just mention as a side to our viewers that Michael does not have Vaseline on his screen. He's got an internet connection that's a little flaky, so he
the
disappears a
internet's
bit.
great. And plus,
comes back.
my face is so red today. Again, hot. Walked 15 minutes. I was sweating like you wouldn't believe. We were late getting to this thing because I could not stop sweating. It was just so.
There, now you're crystal clear again.
So hot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, that's just a process of sort of looking at all of the possible ways to close this thing down and eliminating the stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Like there's a bunch of dead ends, so I pare those down and just keep looking at it, imagining the whole process in my head and going, wait a second, if I just add this here, if I add this element, I have another character who is showing up much later. If I bring her in earlier, then that can set this up. And eventually all the boring branches fold out and disappear. And there's a linear plot that is an ending that has the right amount of tension and hits the right beats and has a satisfying conclusion.
You've made out of all your branches. You've made a nice leafy green tree.
More like a highway.
Okay, so all right. So,
Right now, I have a linear understanding of what needs to happen in the story to bring it to an end. Right.
I wish I knew what that was like.
I do have to go back and set up some of these things that are going to happen. But now I'm going to write through that list of events, create the words, and then I'll go back and do a few things that need to be done to set up what has to happen. Some characters come, barging in. And the reader needs to know that they're about to do that. Stuff like that. Nothing really major.
So you're happy with?
I am ecstatic.
So have you written any of this, or you've just branched?
I've started to, which I will segue into my word count. My word count for the past 2 weeks is minus 956. Minus 956, because I had an unsatisfying ending, and I have cut it out and I put it into my trash bin. I can refer to it still. It's not deleted, but it is no longer part of that scene. And I'm now rewriting the new scene that is not the unsatisfying ending.
But you think you're satisfied?
Yeah. I've been through it a couple of times, And yeah,
And do you believe in 2 weeks you will have it, or do you think it'll take a little longer?
it probably is going to take a little longer. I'd like to say that I have it, um, but it's spring here, and all other sorts of things have to happen, and you know. So, although my wife is going away to Yellowknife for a week in a while, so that might make it easier to just sit down and write. But
You always write in front of your computer, right? Like you
yeah,
don't move
yeah.
about the house. You
We
don't take a
were talking.
laptop with you and go
No,
somewhere.
I should show you a photograph of my incredibly messy desk, but it's laptop here, and so the camera is on my laptop. I have a huge screen right here, which is where I write the manuscript, and then I have another screen over here, which is usually internet research stuff. Right now, it's got my progress report.
Well, so I know we talked about writing on the road at one point. If
Yeah.
you were sitting there, and you take your laptop and go somewhere, or no?
Oh yeah.
You just don't do it?
No, if I mean, I spent 20 years in the hosting business, where I might need to be online at any given minute.
Yeah.
So
So,
my laptop then was attached to my hip. Right. So now I can get away with a tablet, yeah,
yeah,
like so, and that
yeah.
Bluetooth keyboard. Right.
All right. Because I usually write at a writing desk, but I've learned to, sometimes I lay across a bed, sometimes I sit on a couch, sometimes I wrote on a train. Again, pen, paper, I can write anywhere,
Right. Yeah.
and that's all I really need. And that's how my current book actually started. Was I wrote the first chapter while sitting on a train,
Oh yeah, you
which is
mentioned that.
why the whole thing is called The Train. That's the working title is The Train.
Right.
So
Excellent.
yeah. So I had one hell of a week. Let's just say.
Okay.
I think just after you and I didn't tell you what happened at NYC Midnight, right? I
No. No, you
Okay.
said you were shortlisted or something.
So yeah, yeah, I sent that message to you. That was just after we did our podcast last time, and it turns out that so for NYC Midnight's contest, there's like 5,000 some odd writers. Everything gets you get put into a group of about 28 to 30 writers. So you can imagine how many groups there are for that. And
Mm-hmm.
then you are given for your flash fiction, you are given your things. This one's a 2,500, no, 2,000 word story. So my first story got first in my group. So so then I ended up in the second round where I had 3 days to write 1,750 words for round two. But in my infinite wisdom, uh, you know, and because I was buoyed by the fact that I came in first, right? So it just granted in round one, suddenly I started getting because Google is always listening. Um, I started getting invites to do writing battle, and NYC Midnight has got their 500 word challenge coming up, and so I was like, oh, you know what? Ah! So I joined writing battle. So I wrote a story for that, which was 2,500 words, and that was literally right after I finished the second round of the NYC Midnight thing. So I had last week to write a 2,500 word story. So that I finished as well. And which means the editing of my other book has been put on the shelf for the moment. But before that happened, I was at minus 425 words for the editing process. So that was
Okay.
working out.
Nice.
And then, as you remember, I also, see, I'm nuts. I also had joined this write-a-thon for
Yes.
Pocket MFA. So I was like, Jesus, what do I do? So I did count my 2,500 word story. I did count my 750 word story because it's all about putting words on a page. So I
Right.
did count those 4,500 words or whatever towards that. But I had given myself a goal of 50,000 words in the month, and I'm proud to say I'm 42% of the way there. Although, being that it's the 20th of April, I don't think I'm going to make the full 50,000.
Yes, we're
But
66% of the way through the month.
yes, and I'm 42% of the way through my goal. But I did. I was writing the train story on the days that I was not writing for Writing Battle or NYC Midnight. So I don't know why I decided. And then I joined another contest for May. So beware of coming in first, because suddenly you get that you know that that rush of I can do this, and then when you look at the calendar, because you paid for everything, right? You pay to get on all these, and you paid for them, and then they give you this, add this to your calendar, and you do, and then you suddenly go, what the fuck have I done? So, yeah. So that's where I was at. So in total, I couldn't even tell you the amount of words that I've hit. But I've written two. I wrote two stories, and I'm in the middle of continuing with this other story. So
Right.
that's going to continue until we our next podcast. Then I've got another contest, and then I think editing will then probably begin more again in earnest. It was supposed to be writing in the morning, editing in the afternoon, but when you have two other stories to do, that you're like, no, the
No,
brain just cannot function properly. So
exactly.
yeah, yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Although, funny enough, my NYC Midnight Story was supposed to be a comedy, which I'm not really good at
Uh-huh.
writing it, but I did come up with a good Jesus joke. So it's always good to come up with a good Jesus joke.
Yeah.
It's about a guy who it's about a church group who decides to give a peace prize. You had to give you had to give a consolation prize. They give a peace prize to somebody veiled as in the Orange Mountain, and the guy asks, "Well, who came in second? Who was on the short list?" And Jesus comes in second. So
Uh,
that's yeah. Prince of Peace comes in second to. So
uh,
anyway, I thought it was really funny, made me laugh. We'll see if it makes them laugh
right.
as it is.
Yeah.
So, which brings us to goals for next week.
Well,
Before we head into our
since you
hook.
mentioned sort of other activities, I'll give you the update on side things that I've done.
Oh, great.
I I forget what the right word. I was a backer for a book from a science fiction writer called "On Becoming, uh, on Being and Becoming Again a Writer."
Oh, yeah.
So it was. I started it, I think, as a series of essays to himself, talking about struggling through a personal crisis and how that interrupted his writing, and then finding purpose again uh, in the whole process of writing. And it was very good. I wrote a review of it on Storygraph and gave it 4.5 stars. No, 4 and 3/4 stars. There's a couple of places where it could have been edited a bit better, but there's a 1/4 star.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And yesterday, no, not Saturday, there was virtual CanCon, the science fiction conference, and they had a bunch of YouTube sessions, not YouTube, Zoom sessions, and I attended two of those. One was on fascism in writing, uh, and the other one was just on maintaining a writing career, and both of those were very interesting and very useful. Yeah. So no copious notes, but good insights. Yeah.
I actually put a book down this week. Usually,
Cool.
I do not like to not finish a book, but I got halfway through, and it's a writer that I do respect, and I do like it. I do like her, but there was just too much navel gazing, and I just
Uh,
couldn't take it. And I was like, no, no, I got it. This one's finally going into I got 52% of the way through it.
yeah.
And usually, if I get after 25, I'm like, I'm
You're good.
devoted.
Yeah.
But I got 52%, and I can't finish that. I can't. There's just too much. I don't know, too much exposition, too much. There wasn't anything going on, and I couldn't see where it goes. And you look, I don't have to figure it out. But I like a mystery and like to be surprised like everybody else. But it was just one hell of a navel gaze, and I'm like, I cannot abide by this anymore.
Well,
So, and
there's
you know,
there's
which just
no
goes to
shame
show
in
that even seasoned writers, right, put out
yeah,
a dud, but they get published because they're seasoned writers. I guess.
and it's also audience, right? There are other people who will find that book the most wonderful thing ever,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know,
So
and I remember having an argument with a another author about whether or not you judge the quality of a book as the book by itself or as part of the author's oeuvre. And he's like, you have to respect everything because there's all these things. You have to respect this last work. And I'm like, no, if I find it to be crappy, then it's a crappy book. It doesn't affect my opinion of the author, right? Some of my favorite authors have had books that I just go, what the hell? Like, doesn't make it just doesn't resonate with me. That doesn't
and if it
mean
does,
he's a crappy
and I
writer.
guess
Sorry.
yeah, but I guess it's the old saying of it's life's too short to drink bad wine, eat
Yeah.
bad food, blah blah blah. And I guess to read you know a book you're not getting you don't want to go back to.
Right.
And it just at first I was like I kept going back to it, back to it, back to it every night. I'd read a few chapters, and I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna go somewhere with this one. And then when I started realizing that my will to go back to the book had dissipated, like I'd go 2 weeks without reading a word of it, and I would go another 2 weeks without reading, and then I'd pick it up and I'd read it, and I'm like, still not grabbing me. It's time to fish or cut bait, and I cut bait finally. So. And I've only done that 5 times in my life, so it's not something I do real often.
Yeah. I mean, most of my DNFs are just the ever-growing to-be read pile. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hit finish on my Kobo, and I went, okay, done.
Yeah.
So
All right. Let's go back to goals.
goals, here we are. I'm ready. Pen at the ready for you.
Well, I think we've already kind of covered it. My goal is to write this ending and get it as far through
What
as
happened to
possible. Ideally,
Where'd he go?
we're done. But, by the next time we talk, I have an ending.
Where'd you go? There you go. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, we
You disappeared for a second.
um, our video has been flaking in and out on the web display, but on the thing it's recording, we're both consistent. So this is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically we're back to which is what you said, write the goddamn ending. So which was last week's goal.
Yeah.
So writing ending is still on the goals page.
I have plotted the goddamn ending, which
Okay,
is
so now
important.
that was not part of the goal, but obviously added goal. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you said you had 14 scenes to write. Still with the same 14?
Yeah, my scene counts are the same. 14 to write, 2 in New State, 73 in Draft 1, total of 89. And my lovely negative word count.
And then actually, so you were also supposed to work out your method. So I guess you did. You went back to plotting.
Yeah, I stared at a blank screen. I tried the pantsing thing, and it was just like, I have no idea what I'm writing. I don't know what to write.
So write the ending. 14 scenes to write.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll change for sure.
and
I
then
don't even know
anything
how
else
many
you want
scenes
to
there
add
are.
to the goals, or you have a word count, or you want to write every day? Do you want
I'd love to write every day, but that's not realistic. I mean, some days I get 20 words out. Some days I get 500. So it's,
Well, let's throw that one in there. So write. What would be a legitimate goal? 4 days a week.
well, that is so hard to predict, right?
I'm
Because
going to give you 3 days.
yeah,
You know what? I'm gonna do that for you. I'm giving you a goal of writing 3 days
3 days
a
a week.
week for the
Okay,
next 2 days, for the next 2 weeks.
all right.
3 days. See if that works for you.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I listen to you participating in all these competitions and everything else, and I'm just like, ew. The concept of competitive writing is just totally anathema to me. It's like, no.
You know what? I don't know what made me do it in the first place. Like I've been doing the NYC now for I want to say 4 years, 5 years. Like I have written enough. Like I have got in my Dabble program, I have now a designated folder of short stories for NYC Midnight,
Mm,
and like there's got to be at least 2 dozen stories in there. Some of them are abandoned stories. Like I started writing them,
right.
got to the end, and I sent them to my beta reader, and he's a buddy of mine, and he goes, "You can do better." So I got 3 or 4 of those stories, and I'll give him the prompts and everything, and he'll go, "No, no, come back to me with something good. Don't write this shit." So and don't submit it. So and for the most part, he's right. Like I know deep down when I hand it to him, I'm like, and he's
Yep.
go, "This is not your best." So, and I kind of like it because it gets me out of my own head and allows me to look at other stories, prompts, genres that I wouldn't. I had to write a science fiction, which I realized I'm not good at.
Mm,
Comedy I've had to get a few times. Obviously, crime I've got, but it just gives you a different genre to play with.
right.
And I I find that there's a lot of dead bodies in my stories, no matter what genre I have. So I somehow get to the point where somebody is dead, even if it's funny, somebody's dead.
Right.
So because there is uh, a humor in even in the darkest of corners. So um, yeah. So I don't know why I like it, and it makes sure that I do write, and then I get back in the headspace of writing. So sometimes when I feel I'm not writing enough, and one of these contests are coming up, then I'm like, okay, I have to get back into writing, and then it kind of pushes me again to start writing my own stuff again.
Right. Yeah. I look at these calls for submissions for short stories and go, yeah, I could probably write something like that. I can see again. I sort of have an idea maybe, and then I go, no, I want to finish this fucking novel. If
You
I'm going to
know,
write,
I
I want to write this. You know?
yeah, you know what the nice part about Pocket MFA is they do send out these things, and they say, oh, this magazine's looking for submissions, that magazine's looking for submissions, and I sometimes think, yeah, maybe I'll do that, and then I don't because um, I'm it's not that I'm not interested. It's just that deadlines are fluid to me, and if you tell me something's due on the 30th um, and don't give me the prompts of what I have to be writing, I will just go off and write my own thing. And then when I try to write like a 5,000 word short story, and I've tried that before, they end up being 10,000, and I'm like, gosh.
But
So,
is that necessarily a bad thing? Because now you have a 10,000 word story.
which end up turning into a novel, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and where I'm at with this train thing was I didn't know whether it was going to be a short story or a novel. It got to the point this week where I was writing it, and I could not remember characters' names. So I had to go back because I didn't think it was going to get this long. I did not. I
Hmm.
thought it was going to be whatever, and it turns out that now I finally had to get a character sheet going of everybody's relationship, and because I was starting to get lost in my because I had started like characters just started popping up. Originally, it was just going to be Ralph and a couple of cops, and Now there's a cabbie. Now there's love interests. Now there's, a lawyer involved. Like these guys just keep popping up, and you're like, oh shit. So,
As soon as you told me about that observation, I told you it was going to be another novel.
oh yeah, just and the situations keep coming up, and I'm like, okay, and yeah.
Yeah.
So last week I was supposed to keep writing my new story, keep edits, 2 edits with manuscript. Oh, edits with manuscript analysis. I don't know what that means. Some days I write things down and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I think
But
that
I guess my goals for this week are I have a May contest coming up of 500 words, and I want to get close to this pocket MFA 50,000. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of a push. Problem is I'm on the road a lot, so
right.
I'm trying to put some mornings together that I can do this. So it's gonna be a struggle. I'm gonna have to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
Your edit with analysis was putting in the feedback from Pro Writing Aid.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I bought some extra credits for that so that I can do other manuscripts.
Yeah.
So um, uh, okay, so there we go. Now our hook. It's kind of a
Yes.
continuation of last week's, which, if you remember, it was supposed to be programs that you either want to know about or can't live without, and then we both got onto our respective writing software, and that just devolved into everything
The open
for
source
about 20
tangent.
minutes and Substack and everything. So let's go back to that. Take your writing software out of it.
Okay.
What are the other programs that you can recommend that you use, or that you're curious about, but sometimes you just don't have the time to deal with it? Like I can start here. There's one that I keep getting emails for called Master Writer,
Okay.
and I keep looking at it, looking at it, looking at it, but it seems to promote itself for screenwriters.
Yeah.
Because it's about finding the right words. So I find that I think you'd use a thesaurus just as easily as this one, but and
Yeah.
obviously it's a paid subscription thing. So I'm like, I don't think I need that.
Right.
So I keep, even when they do 50% off, I'm like, I just no, I
No.
no,
Yeah.
no, I can't bring myself to do it.
Um,
So are there ones that you like? I use dictionary.com and thesaurus.com. Those are things I obviously they're on my phone, they're on my laptop. I always have them available to me. Pro Writing Aid, that's one of the things I use. I know some people like Grammarly, and they say they work together very well, but I can only use one or the other. I can't go too much.
right.
So
Um, well, I guess Quant, my favorite search engine, because I can turn all the AI crap off.
yeah,
Um, when Quant fails a verbatim search on Google to get a page that actually has my keywords, that's useful. For thesaurus, I use something called WordHippo, wordhippo.com. And I like it because it's got a lot of words that are kind of related but aren't really synonymous, and antonyms and things. And it's fairly easy to sort of go down a thread and say, well, this word might be closer, and look at other things. So when I have a really hard time finding the right word, that is my go-to tool. Um,
I use search engines too. The other thing I used to use Google Translate. Somebody told me DeepL is better for translations,
oh yeah,
especially into Italian. I've
yeah,
written a few. I've written a few novels in Italy, so I needed some Italian.
right.
And as of yesterday morning, in my new book, somebody is speaking Spanish. So I needed some Spanish.
I
So
see.
again, I used some Spanish. So
Right.
yeah, DeepL is something that I constantly have,
Right.
so that I can use different languages. So
Yeah. Um, I guess, I mean, I hate to say it, I, I, I ignore Facebook to the greatest extent possible. Like,
yes,
I haven't looked at my main feed more than 5 times in the past 5 years. Um, and, now if you are sitting in a group and you don't touch your screen for a while, Meta redirects you to the feed. Um, it says, "Oh, you're missing everything that's happening on the homepage." So I have a script that detects that and puts me back where I want to be.
oh nice. See? You see, I don't use Facebook or Instagram or anything besides to, promote some stuff. We do, the
Right.
podcast, the occasion, when I came in first place, I promoted Instagram, but I don't consider it at the moment to be an invaluable tool. At some point, when I probably have a book to sell, it will probably become
Right.
more valuable at that point, as well as things like Kickstarter and other things. But at the moment, because still in the writing process, I'm not. Both of us should be thinking about getting the book out there, but you know, you're still in the writing process, so you're not really in marketing mode, and unfortunately, that's kind of where you also have to be.
Well, I track the whole process of what you need to do to get a book out there relatively closely. So I've got at least 2 mailing lists, probably 3, that address various aspects of that. The groups that I'm in on Facebook are, advertising on Facebook and Amazon. Um, Canada Writes, which is the CBC thing, so you get authors there, and a couple of science fiction writers groups, so they're either promoting their book or talking about stuff and looking for opportunities to collaborate. Because with a mailing list that's got 2 handfuls of subscribers, I have to be, I should be looking at an order of magnitude more than I have in my subscriber list before I try to launch a book through Kickstarter. Right, you got to bring people in, right? So
So that brings me maybe to our hook for next week.
yeah,
Um, and you mentioned a group,
yeah,
and as writers, we all probably should join more groups than we do. We get into our heads. So let's go with groups that have helped you,
okay,
like any kind of mailing list, any kind of group, any kind of club you've joined, anything like that, that you found helpful, and the people on this have become helpful, or on the other side, ones you would not go back to because they just became a hindrance.
right,
So,
or because their methodologies don't resonate with me.
right, yeah. So something like
Yeah,
that. So
it'll
let's
be hard
let's
to
go with that.
remember those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There's some that stick in your head, and I've got one right here, and I know where I'm gonna go with that one. So, yeah, groups that have helped and or hindered, or not.
Yeah,
So
yeah. There's
that'll do it. Well,
there's
you know what?
one
I want to
I
wish you
can't
all the luck
remember.
in writing this ending. I really want you to. I really want you to get 3 days in. And I really want, next time, what I really want from you, and then maybe you can throw that back to me if you want as well. I really want to see see if you could do that 3 days,
Right.
which might help. And I want to see that scene, um, that scene number drop now. You've had 14 for way too long. I want to see it drop to 12 or even 10 this week. So
It's probably going to be weird because I think I'm going to be just writing the ending as one great long scene, one great long file in Novel Writer, and then breaking it up into scenes and deleting the other stuff. So the scene count is going to be bouncing around in weird
you
ways. But
you'd probably be surprised that when as you write, because as I know it, as I write, suddenly I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm tired of talking about him. let me put a little asterisk here, like a little hashtag here. We'll come back to this side of the story. Let's move on to something else, and that's it's interesting that way. So you'll just end up drawing a line and go, okay, we'll come back to you. Let's see what he's up to, and then another line, and then we'll move on. So
What happens
you end up
with
surprising yourself with the scenes.
what happens with me is I'm going blah blah blah, and then this guy comes in to do this, and it's like, well, I haven't mentioned anything about this guy coming in to do this. I know he has to do it, and then I'll be doing what you hate. I'll stop there. I'll go bouncing back up and go, where's this guy's story? Oh, this is where it has to happen, and then I'll write that scene, and then I'll go back down and say, now I know
Everything,
how he got here.
everything gets written in. This week I gave the guy a half brother who's a lawyer. Where I don't know. It's because it's because his last name is Bentley, and suddenly he was at a law firm named Barnes and Bentley, and I went okay, and that's where I stopped, and then the next day I went half brother, and then I had to figure out how they were half brothers and not seen each other for a long time. And I invented that their parents got married late in life, and that he had a crazy Polish name, and he took the Bentley name. So,
Ah.
uh, you know, as Harlan Coben once said in one of his things, because write the things even if they're implausible, because you can always go back and edit later. But
Right.
write whatever's in your head, and then if it's too fantastical, you can always take it out. But or maybe you can work it in or fix it or something. So
Yeah, it's the fixing it part that I dread, because when somebody comes in like that, I kind of want to know what their state of mind is, right? So if I just have them coming in, then I'll write them in some arbitrary frame of reference, and then I'll go back to write the part where that frame of reference gets established. It'll be incompatible with what I've written.
oh, you
And I have to go
make
back and
this
do it again.
you make this so complicated.
Well, that's in part that's the goal. The goal is to make it so that this must be the same with mystery. Make it complicated, but make it make sense, right?
Yes, but you're making it complicated. The writing part is to me, the way you're going at it is so complicated. I just want to write the story, and then I'll come back to it and fix whatever needs to be fixed. I want to get the story out, which is why and we'll end here. When people say write the first one and then write a second draft,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this story is never coming out of my head again, ever. So even if you think you can write the story again, it can't. It's a one-shot deal for me. You
Yeah.
can probably do it because you've got the plot points.
Right.
You could probably go back to your plot and look it up and go, okay, well maybe I can write it again. The plot is here one day, gone the next.
Right. Yeah.
So every story is different. Every story is unique. Every story just comes up.
There it is. See, I'm not a storyteller, right? I've had to learn how to write story. I have an idea that I want to express, and that idea then has to be transformed into a story. And because I'm not a natural storyteller, I can't just sit down and tell a story. I have to construct that story and make sure that it actually is a decent story before I try writing it.
All right, this is something else I need to do as a goal. Next week, you're telling me a joke. Telling
Okay.
jokes is a great way to tell stories. I want to see it.
Okay.
As for
Yeah.
that, I want a good joke. All right, I'm
Right.
writing it down.
You
You
got
have
it.
a good week.
You too.
Good luck. Thanks.